2035 plan. Talk about that. Tell the, because I'm not sure if the public knows about it. Mention a little bit about it, and also mention where your focus is going to be in, I guess, in that plan.
So where we fall under the 2035 plan is really under that people, helping people. What we're here to do is have visitors come. Have visitors, you know, kind of focus in on what we have in Chatham, our hidden gems. Don't know what to tell them when they say, hey, we have a Friday night off, what can we do? Then they can't discover Chatham-Kent. So I think it's extremely important that the first job that we need to do is have people better acquainted with their own backyard. When was the last time somebody in Wallaceburg took a drive to Tilbury and went to Art in the Park? When was the last time somebody in Erie took a drive and went to Wambo, or went to, you know, or somebody in Bothwell took a drive and then decided to go to Art on the Boulevard in Erie? I think that we need to see what's within our own municipality and know our own municipality within the back of our hand. First of all, I think you're going to discover that there is a lot to do. Secondly, you're going to be able to educate the people that are coming, because we need to make sure that that visiting friends and relative market, which is so huge for Chatham-Kent, when they leave, they're telling their 10 friends, their 10 friends, their 10 friends. They are just as much, or if not more important, than the people just staying in our hotels as well, because they're going to come back.
Okay, Shannon, is there anything you want to mention before we go and close up this our chat?
Well, I know we could go on for hours because there are so many things that we haven't even touched upon when it comes to tourism. But I think the biggest thing that I want to close with is our website is visitck.ca, and that is where you can kind of start that journey.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's time to call our meeting to order. Welcome to the chambers tonight. It's nice to see so many people around the table here. So we'll start our agenda. If I could receive approval. Oh, so I guess I don't need to do that, do we? Do we have a supplementary agenda?
There is no supplementary agenda this evening.
That's good, so I won't approve it. Do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, for open session items and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Item 8, announcements by the mayor. Reconsideration of a proposed declaration to close the alley between Peel and St. George Street in Shrewsbury. The property being considered to be closed legally described as part of Lane Registered Plan 109, Geographic Township of Harwich, Municipality of Chatham-Kent, depicted as Part 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of 24R 10365, being all of PIN 00939-0035 LT. On April 4th, 2018, a notice of intention to close the above noted road allowance was published in the Blenheim News Tribune newspaper and on the municipal website. I'll now invite any person wishing to be heard in regard to this approach the podium and give reason why their lands will be adversely affected or their objections to this declaration to close the portion of the road allowance. Not seeing anyone, I'll ask what are council's wishes. Moved by Councillor Herman, seconded by Councillor Vercouteren. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, if you could indicate your vote, please.
All votes are in. Motion passes 15-0.
Thank you. On to item 9, deputations, and I will refer to the clerk.
Thank you. This evening, we have received 6 deputations. I will remind all speakers that they have a maximum of 5 minutes, and the timer will be behind me on the screen. First speaker is Tom Jeffrey from the Four Counties Health Services Foundation with regards to item 16C, which is the motion of Councillor Van Dams regarding Four Counties Health Services grant. Welcome, Mr. Jeffrey.
Good evening, Madam McGregor, members of council. The Four Counties Health Services Foundation has had a long-standing relationship with the Chatham-Kent area. Prior to municipal restructuring, local municipalities such as Highgate, Zone, and Orford were strong financial supporters of the hospital. Since our presentation to you in January of 2018, we have continued our fundraising efforts and made many presentations to all the surrounding local municipalities about the need for our endoscopy equipment. We are pleased to report that the County of Elgin has agreed to support our hospital with a one-time commitment of $50,000. Dawn Euphemia has committed $15,000 over 3 years, and Adelaide Metcalf will be contributing $10,000 over 2 years. An additional municipality will consider this request in their 2019 budget deliberations, and we are eagerly awaiting responses from our other municipalities that we have visited. We, as a foundation, rely on our local residents to support our annual appeals. But when it comes to items such as endoscopy equipment, we need the support of others, and that's why we come to you. And beyond all of this traditional funding raising activities, we pride ourselves on having good relationships with our area municipalities. As an example, we are inviting both elected and administrative officials from our catchment area to participate in a Building Ties event at our hospital on May 14th, which will consist of a tour, some facilitated discussion on shared challenges and opportunities, and then a keynote speech from Todd Stefanik, Middlesex Hospital Alliance President and COO. We view these activities as being crucial to raise awareness of the hospital's role in this area, and hope that your municipality will be able to participate at that event. Our hospitals continually serve faithfully the Chatham-Kent area, as mentioned in Councillor Van Dam's motion, along with the information that was provided to you at our deputation. Some 41.8% of our emergency department visits originate from the Chatham-Kent area. And in terms of total numbers of residents served, approximately 5,000 Chatham residents utilize our hospital services each and every year, whether it be through emergency inpatient or outpatient visits. So as we look to resume our endoscopy program after a physician retirement in 2017, the purchase of this endoscopy equipment is vital to provide care for the residents in this area and keep that care closer to home. And on that note, I'd like to end my comments this evening by sharing with you a personal patient story. Larry is a 66-year-old gentleman from Morpeth. He was a truck driver for over 50 years and now is semi-retired, enjoying woodworking and looking after his horses. In the fall of 2017, Larry was admitted to our hospital with a severe lung infection. He required hospitalization and eventually mechanical life support. During this crucial and critical time, our hospital team was able to stabilize and quickly transfer Larry to an intensive care unit. Since then, Larry is adopting to a healthier lifestyle after this recent near-death experience. He plans to continue improving his mobility by using our physiotherapist, as well as improving his lung and heart functions by joining our cardiopulmonary rehab program. And for further support, it was arranged for him to follow up with our lung specialist, Dr. Soparka, and connecting with him through the Ontario Telemedicine Network. In sharing his story, Larry told us, "I would not be alive right now. They got me to the right place at the right time. I came to Four Counties Health Services because the service is top-notch and all my healthcare needs were met by the medical, nursing, rehab, and dietary team." Members of Council, this is just one glimpse into one patient's health journey. Your financial support is crucial in ensuring we continue to help Larry and other residents of Chatham-Kent maintain a high quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Michael Poole, and on deck is Donald Scott. Both of the following deputations are with regards to Councillor Fluker's motion on event fees, 14B.
Madam Mayor, councillors, the Royal Canadian Legion represents the people that gave it all in various ceremonies throughout the year. Our branch, the Royal Canadian Legion, has the privilege to have their branch named after Corporal Harry Minor, VC, Victoria Cross. For instance, Blenheim holds three different parades a year, asking us to honor them, asking us that honor our fallen soldiers to pay to honor them is not acceptable. They have it all. They gave it all so we could have this freedom. This is going to hurt. I'm an Afghan veteran. I went over. As the rest of us, I was not prepared to give it all. But three of my friends came home on their final flight, and then I was prepared. They shall grow old. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Donald Scott, and on deck is Irene Williams.
Good evening. As president of the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 185 in Blenheim, I'm here to discuss the fee being charged for special events permits, in particular parade permits for Remembrance Day. Typically, we have 3 parades a year: Decoration Day, which is held in June at the cemetery, and Remembrance Day in Blenheim and in Erie. This year, we are hosting a parade along with the Royal Canadian Regiment out of Toronto to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Corporal Harry Minor's sacrifice, for which he received the Victoria Cross, which we are celebrating on April the 28th. You must consider that all of these parades are meant to remember and honor our veterans. To have Legions pay for that privilege, approximately 105,000 Canadians paid the ultimate sacrifice for battles fought from the Boer War through to the Afghanistan War, is an insult to their memory. Some Legion comrades and military veterans have commented that they and their forefathers fought in World War I, World War II, Afghanistan, as well as some who also served in peacetime to maintain our freedom that this country affords us, for which each and every one of us. We feel it is not appropriate to charge any fees for these types of parades, and we hope that you will consider their sacrifices and vote to remove the special events fee. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Irene Williams. On deck is Len Maynard.
Acting Mayor, Council members, I'd like to start out by reading the mission statement of the Royal Canadian Legion. Our mission is to serve our veterans, which includes serving the military, our CMP members, and their families, and to serve our communities and our country. In Chatham-Kent, we have 10 legions in what we call Zone A3, which are situated within the Chatham-Kent boundary. These Legion branches pay tribute to our veterans by having a parade on Decoration Day, which is held in a cemetery in the community, and on Remembrance Day to honor our fallen veterans and those who return home injured and broken. Several of our branches serve more than one community, and it would be a shame if they had to cease having these parades due to financial hardship. If the municipality chooses to charge an event fee for taking time to remember our veterans, it would be a huge mistake. I believe the monies that the municipality is considering charging would be better spent assisting our veterans and their families and other community members in a time of need. We will remember them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Len Maynard, and on deck is Evan Rogers.
Your Acting Mayor, Council members, the Legion, through its many programs and donations, supports the community and always strives to be a beacon in the community for not just veterans to come out and meet, but citizens of Chatham-Kent. With all due respect to the fees, I know the municipality needs to draw funds for their services, but I have a hard time understanding charging veterans or veteran organizations for the privilege of parading in our community. One has to ask what price these individuals already paid. Some the ultimate price with their lives. Others came back broken, both physically and mentally. I am a 30-year veteran, and every day I see in Chatham the respect shown to our cenotaph, used as a parking lot and abused by the public, and now we have to pay to parade there as veterans and anywhere else in the community that I call home. Makes me ashamed to be from this community, and I was born and raised here. I and my fellow veterans and Legionnaires are proud to have served our country and now our community. This said, and with all due respect, I would ask the Council to remove the event fee for the Royal Canadian Legion, lest we forget. Thank you.
Thank you. Last speaker, Evan Rogers, is with regards to item 13B, Chatham-Kent Youth Advisory Group, a motion of Councillor Brock McGregor.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. My name is Evan Rogers, and I am a grade 12 student at John McGregor Secondary School in Chatham. I am also one of 2 student trustees for the Lambton-Kent District School Board. I am here tonight to speak on item 13B on the agenda. Over the past 8 months, I've been afforded the opportunity to meet and work with some of the most passionate youth throughout the province. Although this work centers around education and the provincial level, this is where my idea of wanting to pursue a CK Youth Advisory Group first began to formulate. I would like to thank Councillor McGregor for meeting with me and moving forward on this idea at a council level. From my experiences advocating for youth and interacting with them, it has become apparent to me that the youth want and need their voices and ideas to be heard, and that they are ready to put in the work. There are many benefits to engaging large demographics of people such as youth. For example, we could see increased civic engagement in activities such as elections, volunteerism, and participation in community events. This youth advisory group would help with the big issue youth talk to me about is having their voices heard but no meaningful action being taken. The CK Youth Survey can be an example we could set on taking action off of listening to the youth. And I fully believe that support to receive a report on the benefits of a CK Youth Advisory Group is a great first step to show youth that they are being listened to. On behalf of youth, I hope you will support the motion brought forth by Councillor McGregor this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Item number 10, consent agenda. If I could have a motion to put on the floor. Councillor Wesley. Councillor Leclerc, are there any items of interest tonight that you'd like pulled? Seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda? Any opposed? That carries. And item number 11, presentation of new notices of motion. Are there any new notices of motion this evening? Seeing none, on to item 12, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Shropshire.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Item 12A, tender award contract T18-107, 2018 new and replacement sidewalk and concrete repair program.
Thank you. And could I have a motion to put on the floor? Councillor Van Dam, and I'm sorry, was it Councillor Robertson? Any comments or questions on this item? The recommendations? Seeing none, place our vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes 15-0.
Item 12B.
Item 12B, tender award T18-103, supply and place gravel.
Sorry, Leclerc, Bensno. Any comments or questions on 12B? Councillor Herman.
Thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Just a question I have through to staff with regards to the Integris gravel that's being used. This is in certain areas that we'll be using it, I understand. I know we've discussed this before, and I still have some calls and concerns on the gravel itself. What have we done to mitigate the type of gravel, maybe the size of the gravel itself from the Integris site? Could you help me and our residents understand exactly what we've done over the last few months to improve that?
Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. Each year we purchase 180,000 tons of granular A and granular M. 100,000 tons of this product is, as you say, recycled railway aggregate. For the last 3 years, we have had independent consultants test that 180,000 tons at the source, every 5,000 tons at the source, and every 5,000 tons when it's placed. All our tests have revealed that the aggregate that we purchase has passed OPSS 1010 standards, meaning it has the proper proportion of various size particles in it. Okay, so having said that, there are no areas where we have purchased gravel that has an oddity in a percentage of large stones or dusty particles. It's all tested. We filed those tests, and that's what we've been doing over the last 3 years to make sure we're getting a product that we're paying for.
And thank you, Madam Acting Mayor. Excuse me. So I see the majority of the Integris gravel is being used in mostly the south side of 401. So I think probably mostly shoulder work, or is it road work as well?
We use the recycled material on both shoulders and roadways.
Okay.
Now, there is a forthcoming report that I'm just finalizing for council. It's called the Gravel Road Aggregate Quality Report.
Yes.
And most of these questions are answered in that report. I suspect a couple weeks it'll be coming to council. This particular report is a request to to award the tender for the additional 80,000 tons of gravel outside of the recycled aggregate. So this gravel comes from Kingsville Dock, Sombra Dock, and Kamoka. So this report that we're dealing with tonight, it's not the recycled.
So I'll look forward to the 2-week report. I'm jumping that a little bit on.
We're just finalizing some statistics
Look
on
forward
it,
to
so
that.
it's forthcoming.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Are there any further questions? Councillor Van Dam?
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor. To be sure then, Mr. Chapika, you said a new report is coming before council. And in that report, it will include sieve tests per se?
I didn't look at including sieve tests in it, but I can include.
I'm just trying to.
No, we have them all on file if you'd like to see them.
Okay. I know a number, maybe not that long ago, we got rid of quarry superintendent when we closed the Harwich pit, did we not?
The Harwich pit right now is going through its restoration period, where we have to bring the land back to its original state and do the slopes and clean up. So the quarry superintendent is still overseeing that work. We're hoping to be finished the rehabilitation the 1st of July this year.
I'm not so much concerned about the rehabilitation. I'm just trying to better understand the report. So the report that's coming before council is just a quality aggregate testing that Councillor Herman was talking about? Or maybe I missed it. I don't know.
Approximately 12 months ago, there was a request from council for administration to provide a report on the different types of aggregate that we buy and place on the roads, comments from the supervisors on the quality, the characteristics, and a report on the different types of complaints that we get from each gravel. And that's the report that I'm finalizing right now.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor.
And thank you. I believe I'm the one that requested the report to come forward. Guess I would have loved to have seen the report before we laid out the gravel on the other roads again. But having said that, I'll look forward to the report in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, this is report. It was simply for information. So thank you very much. No? This is a tender. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You're right.
Is Councillor Solomon? Thank you. All votes are in. Motion passes 15-0.
Thank you. And I was just a little ahead of myself because I had already turned to the next report, which is for information only. And just before we go to item 13, probably should have read into the records because I'll just beg this off as my newness to this position up here tonight. I should have expressed regrets from Mayor Hope, Councillor Thompson, and Councillor Myers. So if that could be read into the records. Thank you. Okay, and I'll turn this back over to Don.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 13A, Living CK, Resident Attraction and Retention Update. Your Worship, we have a short presentation by Victoria Bodner, our Resident Attraction and Retention Coordinator.
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor. As Dawn said, I'm Victoria Bodner. I'm the Resident Attraction and Retention Coordinator with Community Attraction and Promotion, and we sit in the Community Human Services Department. So my goal is population stabilization through marketing and community development initiatives, and ultimately population growth to meet workforce needs as they change. This work started in 2011 thanks to investment from Council at that time to respond to a population decline. So we're at 4.2% in that census. And we focus on Young people, immigrant, newcomers, and active retirees is our focus areas for population marketing and community development work. And this currently most closely aligns with the people and culture focus in CK Plan 2035. But as you can imagine, we also closely align with the other pillars as well across the plan. So economic prosperity and healthy and safe community being some of the key focuses that our work touches as we go through. And today I'll tell you a little bit about where we sit as a community and where we're going into the future in the portfolio. So we currently have a just under 2% decline as of the last census, but the BMA study recently released that our population may have actually increased last year. And there are a number of other indicators which are showing positive signs as well. So last year, Chatham ranked as 11th on the U-Haul's 2017 list of Canadian growth cities, and that's up from 13th in the preceding year. Our housing sale prices are increasing, showing demand in the market. And anecdotally, the Chatham-Kent Association of Realtors is showing that 30% or so of home buyers are coming from out of town. Again, anecdotally, about 50% of those are coming for work and about 50% are active retirees. Last year as well, we ranked on a millennial hotspot list for Canadian communities for Chatham-Kent as a whole. So when we look back at the census for that population of young people, 15 to 39, the rate of decline in that population is also decreasing from almost 10% to almost 6%, but some of the cohorts are actually showing areas of population increase, showing success for some of the work being done over the last few years. In 2012, we did a Chatham-Kent survey of young people, and over 1,000 responses were received at that time. Many of the respondents said that they live in Chatham-Kent for family, and 84% of respondents at the time said they wish to remain connected to the community, regardless of what they do in the future or where they go. And so from that response and from that feedback of young people, we created activities such as the Back to CK initiatives and the Your Roots Are Always in CK tree plantings, which I know you're all very familiar with. So thank you for your support for those activities each year. Last year in June, we launched the Chatham-Kent to the Power of Young People survey, which is a follow-up from that 2012 survey. And we had an increased number of respondents, and the indicators are showing areas of improvement as well. So just to show you some highlights, 87% of young people are now saying that they would like to or possibly like to continue living in Chatham-Kent. Of those who do not live in Chatham-Kent, 76% of young people are saying that they would possibly consider living here in the future. Now 93% of young people are saying they wish to remain connected to the community regardless of where they go in the future or what they do. And 74% of young people think there are or may be jobs for them in Chatham-Kent. So it's great optimism about our workforce opportunities locally. We also asked them in the same survey, how could employers locally retain them and what could they be doing to keep them? Of course, the top response was increase wages, but very closely following that was provide opportunities for development. And reiterated throughout the survey was the opportunity for professional and personal development from young people, which aligns very nicely to this response in this question. So we asked of about 20 indicators, what are the top factors when deciding where to live? So not just in Chatham-Kent, but in any community. And the top 5 responses were employment, health, affordability, safety, and the environment. So those, of course, align very closely to CK Plan 2035 and show that we're going in the right direction and we're focusing on the right things to attract and retain young people in the community. The survey also outlined a number of areas where we could continue to work, however. So 57% of young people do not promote Chatham-Kent to their network of friends in any kind of a proactive way. And about 49% do not know if Chatham-Kent values the contributions that they make to the community. As referenced in the deputation earlier today, only about 22% actually strongly feel that we do value their contributions. And again, 47% of young people think that Chatham-Kent does not offer sufficient leisure opportunities, and another 24% say there might be, but there needs to be more awareness about what those are. So to me, this points out that some more marketing could be done around certain areas, specifically around what opportunities exist locally, and that we could be developing our story a little bit better so that people are sharing it easier with their friends and promoting the community in a more engaging way, that we could create those products. So our next steps We will continue to promote Chatham-Kent to young people, newcomers, and active retirees, specifically to showcase the lifestyle that exists in Chatham-Kent and the leisure opportunities that are available. We'll increase support for employment outcomes and pathways, professional and personal development opportunities, and provide opportunities for young people to get involved in decision making. I think this lies very closely, or it aligns very well with the fact that young people should feel like their contributions matter, that those two kind of go hand in hand. And we will create a Chatham-Kent to the Power of Young People Community Action Plan. So this is work that's currently happening. It'll combine the feedback from those that we just saw from the 1,100 young people with feedback that we've just gained last month from local employers and organizations on what they're doing to engage young people. So the plan will develop simple steps that we can take as a community in order to ensure that we're engaging young people properly and that we're looking towards future generations continuously as a community. So we're looking to engage the next generation all the time. What can we do to be doing that? And how can we ensure that employers and organizations are doing that as well? So that's what's coming up soon this year. We will, of course, continue with the Your Roots Are Always in CK tree plantings and the Back to CK initiatives, as well as some of our targeted marketing. Continuing work with our newcomer focus, we engage newcomers on an ongoing basis. We're also sharing newcomer stories and maintaining an online presence. So the livingck.ca and the newcomers portal is our hosts a lot of settlement information for people to access when they're coming to move to Chatham-Kent. And this work is also showing a positive increase or positive data. So looking at population overall, there has been a slight increase in the number of immigrants in Chatham-Kent, but if we dive a little bit deeper into the number of recent arrivals, so those who have arrived within the 5 years preceding the census, that number has actually increased by 22% between 2011 and 2016, bringing us to 660 new immigrant arrivals. And our active retirees. So we'll continue to work with local realtors and home builders to support their outreach to other markets to bring active retirees to the community, and of course welcome people from across all demographics to the community. In 2015, Chatham-Kent was featured in the Globe and Mail's top 6 hotspots for retirement, and that again has shown positive indicators that that we're more known to that community. So when we're looking at the population 55 years and up, that population is increasing at a higher rate. So that's a great thing to see as well. So I didn't want to spend too much time on the data indicators, but really want to show you where some of our marketing is going, looking at promoting the lifestyle in Chatham-Kent across demographics and showing some of the opportunities that exist for lifestyle, but also just kind of in a broad way called That's Living CK. I'm going to show a video right now.
Why am I living CK? It's the history and culture that I'm proud of. To be involved in the community and have fun doing it.
It's getting together with friends for a night out.
Or starting a business with the whole community behind you.
It's about being active and exploring our parks and trails.
It's about knowing that you're home.
That's living CK.
So that's the newest campaign, and again, that focuses at a high level about the lifestyle in Chatham-Kent, what people can expect, and it stretches across demographics. So it's been shown already internally and to external markets based on who we know is coming to Chatham-Kent from surrounding communities. And that's my high level. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions for Victoria? Councillor Salmon?
I get it there. Thank you. Victoria, I read your report in great detail and read statistics that you provided us, and the conclusion I came to is you know you're marketing and you're doing what you said you, but at the end of the day, the population continues to decline. And when I looked at the responses from certain age groups, mainly the younger ones, not the retirees, it really appears that the problem is that in the last decade, our employment levels have dropped. And that if we had, when you look at the responses from the young people, that if we had more employment here, they'd love to be here. But the trouble is we haven't created any new employment in the last decade, 12, 15 years. Is that a fair assumption? At least that's what your numbers say, and that's what the responses say, so I take it as a fair assumption.
Yes, young people are definitely saying that they're looking for employment opportunities and outcomes. They're also looking for employment pathways. And some of our work is around connecting them to the employment opportunities that do exist. So we know that there are opportunities for employment in the community, and that's where our work has been going and will increasingly go, is to connect them to the opportunities that are available.
The difficulty is, though, that there aren't sufficient opportunities available. Because they're responding, gee, I'd like to be here because it's a lower cost of living, the weather's nice, the lakes are available to us. There's a lot of great things, but you've got to find work, and there's less than there was 15 years ago. So I encourage you to continue to do your efforts, but it's the big effort needs to come from economic development to find those kind of those jobs for people.
Thank you.
But you can't do all that. That's a lot of burden.
I think maybe we have a response from Don here.
Thank you, Worship. Further to Councillor Solomon's question, there has been a fair bit of research. Certainly the survey that's been done, you put your finger on the number one reason people either come to a community or leave a community, and that's employment opportunities. We actually have had some very positive signs on the unemployment side, and it's not just economic development that's been contributing. It's been our local businesses and others, but our unemployment rate's gone from over 15% in 2009 to hovering just over 5% over the past 6 months or so. So there has been a steady positive direction. We're now finding that we're shifting from the burden from just finding people jobs to trying to find that we have good quality candidates who can actually fill the good paying jobs by employers. So I think, there's no question that Victoria and the team are doing a really important job to try and, raise the profile of Chatham-Kent and the quality of life things we have to do. But we're also need to continue to work with local employers to ensure that we have the right positive workforce, the ones that's skilled and have the experience and education to fill the higher paying jobs. But there has been a trend line that's positive on the employment front. The other piece that I just draw to Council's attention, in December we presented to Council the BMA study, and for the first time in over 8 years, the BMA study was actually projecting it, and based on their metadata findings, they actually projected that we actually increased our population in 2017. And I'm cautious about that number. It's not the same level of certainty as a census, so I don't want to oversell it. But after we got that data, I went back to the province of Ontario and talked to the Ministry of Finance. They do a similar type of analysis, and they were also suggesting that we had a significant increase in our population in 2017 in the order of 105,000 people. So I think we're trending in the right direction. We just have to keep our efforts on all the economic fronts and Victoria and the team's fronts to keep selling Chatham-Kent.
Thank you. Councillor Oche?
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor. Victoria, I know there are jobs out there, but they are a little more education and technical. Do you let the young people know what jobs are there and what they should be taking in school to get them, such as CNC and engineering and other items like that?
So we do presentations to schools, not really as a rule, but we have done upon request. What we would normally do, and we've done recently, is work with the education leaders in the community to showcase the data that the census tells us, as well as the feedback from the recent survey, to tell that story, to say these are the jobs that are available in the community and how can we support students to be looking at those jobs if they're looking to come back. And of course, through engagement opportunities like the Your Roots Are Always in CK tree plantings, and whenever we're doing outreach, we're having honest discussions about what opportunities exist in the community for students, encouraging them to look at those. We work mostly through partners, and there's a lot of community partners who are around the table supporting us. So the Youth Engagement Partnership, for example, or the YMCA Celebration of Youth Awards, looking to cultivate some of those pathways for people to come back, whether it's at whatever education level that they need to attain. Does that answer your question?
Yes, that does answer my question. Thank you. But I'm assuming as well that you talk to employees or employers as well. Well, for instance, going to Wallaceburg every day, I go through by signs that I've seen for a year or more, looking for the same type of trained employee, and so I assume you talk to different businesses as well.
We partner very closely and increasingly with economic development and the Workforce Planning Board to engage with employers to be looking at those things, yes, from a talent attraction perspective, for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Fluker.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Solomon inspired me. If he knows of folks who are looking for work, please send them out to Tilbury or Wheatley. We have 3 plants right now, and some of them are highly technical jobs. Others are not, that are looking for workers. One of them is looking for close to 85 workers. If you go down to Wheatley in West Kent, you will find that there are 3 places in the food industry that will not require the high educational value that perhaps 2 of the plants in Tilbury require, where they will find work. Employment is available in Chatham-Kent. The front page story on the Windsor Star this morning had where employers were just beside themselves across Windsor and Essex County because they cannot find employees. So I'm somewhat optimistic about our increasing population. Tilbury's population did increase over the last 5 years, and I think Wheatley's just barely did, and it's going to increase some more because there are jobs available in Chatham-Kent that were not available, as Mr. Shropshire did the statistics, how we are improving with our unemployment level. In all candor, in the morning, when you walk through the town of Tilbury or Wheatley, you will see very few young people. They are working. And I guess my main concern is that we have to and do the best we can to attract younger people here, because employment, and I agree with you, employment is the key figure. We only have 4 lawyers in Tilbury, but I think that's enough. But we certainly don't need to require any other kinds of professionals of that nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fluker. Councillor Brock-McGregor.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I'd echo some of Councillor Fluker's optimism. We all get the numbers every month. We know that unemployment has trended down, and we know that the total number of employed has trended up, and we've seen these changes over time, which is a real positive. And similar to Councillor Fluker, I've heard from employers that the challenge now is finding employees, and I think that makes the work that's being done and the identification of some of the challenges we have in resident attraction and retention even more important. You know, we have a role to play in being partners with employers in demonstrating and showcasing how great our community is, so that they can attract people to work here and fill that need and be able to grow. So I remain optimistic, and I think most of the indicators show that optimism is well-founded.
Thank you, Councillor McGregor. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor. Thanks for the presentation, Victoria. I guess my question is, there's a lot of information here as far as statistical information, which is very helpful, obviously. Over the years, I've watched your department grow, and my question is, with all this information, how do you practically and actively go out and try and reach people to encourage them to move here, whether it be young people or older people? Like retirees, I see a lot of retirement ads in magazines to, there's a community up north, I forget, but they're very actively, you know, trying to attract retirees, even though it's -30 most of the year, so I don't know how they do it, but good for them. So I guess my question is, do you go to, like, do you partner with economic development and go to job fairs at universities or colleges, or like, how do you take this information to actually go out and, you know, face-to-face meet these people and explain to them the benefits of moving here?
Thank you. So in a number of ways, yes, we would go to job fairs and have done. We've done over the years, and preceding me for sure, there's been a number of outreach activities to specific populations and specific communities. So for example, the census data tells us obviously who's growing and which populations are reducing, but albeit at a reduced rate. The active retiree population, as an example, is increasing, and that followed outreach to the GTA doing Zoomer shows, the story in the Globe and Mail about Chatham-Kent and some of those features, and targeted outreach marketing campaigns. The That's Living CK marketing plan includes outreach to external populations that we know are coming to Chatham-Kent, or at least looking at Chatham-Kent, from information from the Association of Realtors, from who's visiting our online marketing, our website. So we will do targeted marketing to those communities, so over social media and then in publications in Cineplex, and look at the publications to say, what demographics is this publication reaching, and is it matching the focus that we have? So we use the data specifically to target marketing. The community development side of things is listening to what people are saying, what feedback we're getting, and trying to come up with solutions for barriers, so to speak, that they're identifying, or opportunities. So the Back to CK initiatives were developed because young people, one, were saying that they do come here for X amount of reasons, and then using real life stories to profile that on an ongoing way to say, one, there are young people here, and yes, they're active in doing a number of things. This is how we can validate their contributions. But overall, looking at large-scale statistics and data I like, but I understand that it doesn't communicate to everyone, just telling the human side of the story. So we do that for newcomers and for young people. The Your Roots Are Always in CK is another example of that. Young people said that they're here because of family, and that's a way for us to remind them that they are symbolically and hopefully really rooted in the community. So a number of initiatives going on depending on what the need is. Outreach to job fairs, for example, would be based on what jobs exist in Chatham-Kent, what job fairs are highlighting those jobs, or what schools maybe are having graduates graduate from that program, and then working with our community stakeholders as much as possible to tell the Chatham-Kent story in a very targeted way.
Well, that was the best answer I've ever got. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Herman.
Thank you. Thank you, Victoria. And I have to also first say the welcome back to CK, Your Roots Are in CK, is an excellent program. I was pleased to be with you and our students from Blenheim District High School and planting a tree in McGregor Park, and we all had a really good chance to have an opportunity to talk to them about what it is to come back, you know, even just as much as talking about summer jobs when they're going to school and coming back for summer jobs. The guidance counselor that was there really picked up on that one. So if we get more opportunities to speak with guidance counselors in the different high schools, I think that's where I seen that interest in her. So just as something that I took notice of that day. The other is, I actually, in reading this report, and we're all optimists, of course, of Chatham-Kent and love where we live. And I appreciate the fact that there's the two demographics, the active retirees that we're working to increase as well, and that program is working. But when it comes to the jobs, and I appreciate, yes, there's lots of jobs in Wheatley, but then that comes back down to some of the issues that we see in an age-friendly community that we need to address. And if we're going for a job in Wheatley, for an example, we'd like to get there. It's just about how. And there's a transportation challenge that we need to address in Chatham-Kent. And if there's opportunities for funding through the provincial government, and we need to pick up on that and see where we can go with that, because I'm sure there's people that would love to go to Tilbury and Wheatley to work and outside whatever community they presently live in just to get there. It is that stumbling block. So that's one. The other is, I look at it's not, I wonder this, and I called Stuart McFadden in economic development. I says, you know, I was hoping that maybe in tandem we could have heard a little bit more, because I thought this would get into an employment discussion. So he says he's going to be coming back to council, I guess, economic development in the near future, so we can have those next steps questions on that. So when I look at, yes, there's jobs available, but then I wonder, are these the jobs they're looking for? So when I think of that, is okay, when we go to trade shows and I ask economic development, what are we trying to sell? What businesses are we selling? And I hear we're working still in tool and die trades. I'm not certain how that today is as popular as it was yesterday. I do know what we are observing with an aging population, there is a need for more healthcare jobs, and I'm not sure that stats here in Chatham-Kent. So if there's an opportunity that we can find out more information on that, I would appreciate that. I know that in RVG, we're looking for nursing staff, you know, I know, and even on the older adult residences in all of Chatham-Kent, they too are looking for nursing staff. So when we go to trade shows, do we have an opportunity to speak with universities that are teaching those courses that we need in our community? So that's what jobs are available. Is that the jobs we're looking for in our community? That's the big thing. And as I said, institutions might be able to, I don't know, we talked of this at one time as well around the tables about universities and college and our partners in all this. We have a couple of institutions within Chatham-Kent, and we're really grateful to have both St. Clair College and University of Guelph in Chatham-Kent. The other things is I hear residents say, I've started to take something in a certain field in education, and then all of a sudden that course has left the community, and then they had to go outside the community to take it. So those are, again, things that is our challenge. Again, back to I am an optimist about our community, and I'm pleased to see the numbers that we are increasing, and I do encourage you to continue your good work, and you're back to CK. And
Well, I thought I might as well share an experience with you, because I think myself and my family is a real life example of how this can work. Cheryl and I, and one thing I would say is that I like the fact that we define young people as 15 to 39 years old. Although I consider myself to be a young person, it's good that you have that range, because we have young people who are here, and we want to keep them here. We also have young people who move away to get education or job experience, and we want them to come back. And that's kind of the situation our family's in. Michelle and I have 4 children, and there's 4 spouses and 4 grandkids. Prior to 2017, 1 child and 1 spouse and 2 grandkids lived in Chatham-Kent. I never thought I'd see the day when they would all live here, but I really hoped that it would come and that they would actually want to do that. And I can actually say that based on what happened in 2017, because I helped in certain ways every one of them move, that all 4 of our kids, all 4 of their spouses, and the 4 grandkids now all live in Chatham-Kent. They've all moved back here. They're here. And I wanted to tell a little bit about why that happened. And just for the employment side, of the 6 adults, 4 of them now work in Chatham-Kent and 2 work outside of Chatham-Kent. Why did they come back? Obviously, there's a family connection. I mean, that's a given. And I think that's one avenue that we should pursue, because once you have that family connection, it sure gives you a tie-in to some people to help them come back. Housing. In every case, the ones that moved back to Chatham-Kent, they all sold their houses where they were at for more money than they bought, of course, market's going up, moved into Chatham-Kent, got a nicer house for less money, and believe me, they're all very happy about that. In one case, economic development played a role, because my one son has started operating a high-tech company, and Stuart McFadden in economic development was able to find him industrial space in Walsburg, because that's what he needed to move his business here. And that has worked out great. They've been very supportive. And in fact, that's only been a year, and May 1st, he is already moving into a bigger location. But the one thing that was important about that too, that was very important, is that economic development put him in touch with a industrial space landlord in Walsburg who was fantastic. Opened up his arms, completely flexible, and really catered to his needs. And that part has really worked out great. The other thing is that there are things to do here. All of them like what Chatham-Kent has to offer, from the sports and recreation to the schooling. And my one son said he was thrilled because his son is now going to the same public school that he went to. Daughter moved back in, same thing. Her daughter would be going to the same school she went to. It's all kind of neat. And there has to be job opportunities, of course. I said 2 of them work outside, 4 of them work in, but what's interesting is the one son who has started up the business has hired the wife of his other brother to work for him, so now she can move back, and the other son also works with him, and the other daughter who moved back is working with her sister in her loft. So it all works, but it's very complicated, but it does work, and you just got to keep at it. And there's a lot of different reasons why people will move here and why they won't. But I tell you, if there's a family connection and people grew up in here, if you give them the opportunity to move back here, 9 times out of 10 they'll do it. And my family is living proof of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Foz.
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor. I'm not sure that we're on the right track here, or I think we are, I guess, for some parts of it. I know that economic development through Jeff Wright has connected high school students with industry. And I think that's a very important key there, that the industry can explain to the high school students what training that they should get, what opportunities are available. And I think that program has been very successful. The other thing is that there's a video. I came back to Chatham-Kent, and I'm not sure if that's in your department, Victoria, or not, but that really depicts how many people did come. And where I was going earlier is that we're not doing a good enough job in promoting what we've already accomplished. And I think we are on the right track with what economic development is doing and with what your department is doing, Victoria. So if you look at Chatham-Kent as being one of the biggest employers in Chatham-Kent, and how many people that we've hired that have gone away and have come back. And I think we're doing a pretty good job, but we're just not expressing that information to the public as well as we should, maybe. So, thank you.
Any further comments? Seeing none, thank you, Victoria. It was a very good report. As you could see, we had some very good questions and discussion around the table. So thank you very much for coming and bringing this presentation tonight.
Thank you very much.
Item 13B.
13B, motion by Councillor Beam McGregor regarding CKY Advisory Youth.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Whereas attraction and retention of youth is a vitally important aspect of Chatham-Kent's resilience and success, and whereas over 1,100 youth in Chatham-Kent, whereas over 1,100 youth responded to the Chatham-Kent to the Power of Young People CK survey, with only 22% of those surveyed reporting they felt their contributions were valued, and many reporting frustration over the lack of youth opinions being known, heard, or acted upon. Be it resolved that staff in community attraction and promotion investigate and report back to Council by June 18th on the requirements and potential benefits of creating a CK to the Power of Y advisory group, the aim of which is to ensure that the voice of young people aged 15 to 39 years is known, heard, considered, and acted upon in Council decision-making.
Thank you, and seconded by Councillor Robertson. Any comments?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. I just want to start by thanking Evan. He reached out to me a few months ago and had done some background research on how some other communities are working to promote youth voice. And he sort of asked, what are we doing in Chatham-Kent? And we talked a bit about what this could look like. And fortunately, the discussion we've already had tonight, the timing worked out to put them both on the same night, which I think makes quite a bit of sense. So as we've seen from all that information, we've identified a few challenges. We need to attract and retain more youth, and we currently have a challenge that some youth feel that they're not engaged and that their contributions aren't valued in our community. So I think it's a responsible step, albeit it's not the only solution, but an important step in signifying our priorities in the community, and that we are going to be responsive to community need and assessment of that need. So the motion tonight is intentionally quite broad. I have no real strong opinion on exactly how this should run, on what their mandate should be, and what this group should do. And I think that that's important. We should allow this process to breathe a bit, and those that get involved should take ownership of that advisory group and decide what they want to focus on and what that group should look like. So I'm looking forward to your support this evening in getting this moving forward.
Councillor Robertson, did you? Okay. Councillor Pinstone.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to get the youth involved. They are going to be our future for sure, and I have no problem supporting this advisory group. I just don't want to see this get bogged down where it gets so intense that we have to have a staff position, because we've seen that with other youth advisory with the golf and all that, where I just don't want to see a staff position put into this. But I have no problem supporting this, and I believe it is good to get our youth involved. Thank you.
Councillor Solomon.
I'm going to support it, but I'm just wondering, since we knew this was coming forward, whether administration did any research on this was done in the 2000 something under Mayor Gagne already. This isn't anything new. I'm just wondering what happened to that committee, and can we act quicker than June 18th? Because we don't need to remake the wheel. It was already there, and I'm just wondering whether we just reactivate what we already had, or why it didn't. Maybe we should have. I hope administration looked into it to tell us what happened with that committee and what was its mandate, and if it isn't in place anymore, why it isn't in place. I mean, those are all the kind of things you'd want to know before you do this. And I think we could do it much quicker than June 18th if we knew that kind of information. And it would be great to hear from the youth on the very questions that I was concerned about with respect to employment, since the youth that we got here, not anecdotal like I heard from others, but the actual report says that 97%, of the issues they consider when choosing to live here, employment's 97%. So it'd be good to hear about it early, and it would be good to hear from youth representatives, particularly this year, about summer employment. Like, that's a very important thing for young people trying to pay their way through school, and how easy it is to get jobs here in summer employment with the current minimum wage. So anyway, aside from that, what does administration have to say through you to administration on what they've done about looking at the already existing committee? I mean, maybe it's still there and it just hasn't had any activity.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Councillor Solomon, the committee that I believe you're referring to had been disbanded, at least by the time I arrived in Chatham-Kent in 2009, so I think it was concurrent with the 2008 election. I appreciate you raising it with us, and we'll make the commitment to go back and see if that's the type of structure that the youth are interested in being involved in. But I don't have any knowledge as to why it changed or why it was not continued. But we'll certainly take that under advisement, and if we can expedite it before June, we'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I think it's important, Madam Chairman, that we don't we learn from the past. And I mean, I realize some of this stuff goes back to amalgamation, and I realize there's not a long institutional memory, and I don't blame the current administration for not having that memory, but there just isn't one. But we should know what already went on to know what mistakes may have been made, if any, or what good things were done in the structuring of it, and how to go about it. But I don't think there's any doubt that we should have this committee. But it may well, and it's not a new idea, it's one, I say, Diane Gagne brought it up when she was mayor. So it's a good thing. And I totally agree with the comments of my colleague to my left here that this is not something that you should be having a staff position created for. It can be done. I think it was called the Mayor's Committee on Youth at the time, which might have been an issue. It shouldn't be restricted to that. It should be a committee of council in some way, shape, or form. So those are all the comments I have. I just think we can learn from the past and make sure we do the right thing now.
Thank you. Dr. Rita, did you have anything to add to that?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just through to some of Councillor Solomon's comments, the Mayor's Youth Council, which is the previous council I'm assuming that Councillor Solomon is speaking of, it was focused very, very highly on just that teenager population, and we are really looking at bringing that entire youth that Victoria talked about. So both the teenagers in terms of in that young kind of education system, choosing their careers, thinking about what they're going to do, to that young adult as well. And that's really what we're looking at. So we will look at some of the previous data that's out there in the Mayor's Youth Council, bringing that together if this motion is successful in bringing a report back to council as to what this type of youth advisory committee will look like.
Thank you very much. Councillor Herman?
Yeah, thank you. It gets me thinking and my wheels turning on this, quite frankly, and I certainly will support this. I think it's important that we hear from this age group of young people in our community. But I see it as the senior advisory committee is we should have a youth advisory committee. We have a senior advisory committee. Let's do this. And I believe that template could work. And that's pretty simple to put that together. It's not a committee of council. However, just as a suggestion, being a part of the age-friendly committee of council, I know that our committee has talked about how we would like to grow and have someone represent that age group come to the age-friendly, because that's what we are. We're an aging population from the day we're born. And I think that getting this group together and having someone represent them at the age-friendly table, I think is very important. So with that could bring good reports of all age demographics to the table when they come back with a council report. So that's just my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions, would you like a close?
Yeah, just briefly, I appreciate the comments around the table, and there certainly are lessons to be learned from the past Mayor's Youth Council and those that exist across the province right now, and agree with Councillor Herman that there's definitely some opportunity for, I think, some crosstalk between the age-friendly committee and things like strategic planning. I think there's a role that can be played there and some input from youth that would be relevant. So thank you for your support this evening.
Thank you. So we have the motion on the floor. Did you want to speak further? Okay. So if we could indicate our wishes here.
All votes are in. Motion passes 15-0.
Thank you. Item 14, Infrastructure and Engineering Services, and I'll turn it over to Don.
Item 14A, 2018 Active Transportation Lifecycle Projects.
Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Vercouteren. And no comments there. Councillor Bondi.
Thank you, Acting Mayor McGregor. I just have a question. I'm looking at the report, and it appears as though we are going to contribute $300,000 in order to utilize a grant of $755,000 from the Ontario Municipal Commuter Cycling Grant. And on the three project listings on attachment A, number one is spray painting some bike paths, maybe re-spray painting bike paths, I'm not sure. Number two looks like it's a flyer indicating available bike paths in the municipality. And number 3 is the one I'm a little concerned with, because this is talking about the $755,000, which is for cycling route infrastructure. So now this wouldn't possibly be bike lanes that we're not really specifically talking about, would it be? Because it doesn't say what it is, and that's an awful lot of money. It's almost $1 million, and it's certainly not for spray paint and flyers. So,
through you, Councillor or Mayor, we're only asking for $300,000. We came back to council back at the beginning of March because I received a grant from the OMCC for the $755,000. So we received that much money from the MTO.
Right.
And just in their stipulation is that the municipality supports their 80% of funding, so that's $755,000.
Yeah, I can read that.
With
We have
the
to provide the 20%.
So
right?
it comes out to, we support that money with, I think, $151,000. So of the 300, 151,000 of that is supporting the cycling route infrastructure that we would use with those 4 projects that we proposed on that plan. So that was the Bloomfield reconstruction, the Round the River route, which all these projects do still have to come back to council for approval. It was the Kyle Drive multi-use pathway and the Victoria Street cycling routes. So on the OMCC funding I applied for, we received the $750,000, but within that stipulation of the transfer payment agreement was that the municipality comes up 20% of the funding.
And
so
that's
just with this amount, it's providing that 20% of funding so that we can utilize that money. So instead of paying 100% of it out of our capital, we don't have to pay that. We can pay this 20% instead.
Right. So, but the question is, what's the money for? Like, not
it was for those 4 projects from the OMCC grant.
So are we doing those 4 projects? Because
pardon?
You say that those 4 projects have to come back to council.
The Bloomfield multi-use pathway was approved by engineering quite a while ago, but the other 3 projects, so Victoria Street, Kyle Drive, and the Round the River route would still have to come back to council for approval.
So this 750, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused, but there's a lot of figures being thrown around here. So the $755,000.
That was money given to us.
Right, but the question is, what are we spending it on?
On those 4 projects, based on council approval.
But we're not doing 3 of them. We're only doing 1 of them, right?
This year, but the money can sit in an account until 2020.
So how much is the one that we're doing this year?
I think we're only spending $300,000 out of that, and they already had 20% approval out of their capital budget for the Bloomfield project.
So now, if we accept this money and decide not to do those other 3 projects, do we have to give it back?
We could propose a new project list and get different projects, or we could give it back after 2020.
Oh, but those projects aren't they're not attached to that money.
They are attached.
I think you may have a little problem getting council to pass.
Yep, they're attached to that money. However, we can change the project list every year. So if we decide that we don't want to do, say, Kyle Drive, we don't have to do Kyle Drive.
Sure, I got it. No, that's good. I just want to make sure we weren't kind of stepping further along the process without really knowing that we were.
No, this is just that we have that funding available so that we can support those projects when they come forward.
I got it. That's great. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just as a follow-up to that, just so I understand, there's only 1 project for this year, and it isn't the Round the River route, and that will not be decided until 2019.
For this funding,
yeah.
So for this funding, the Round the River route Phase 2 is not being proposed until later.
But what's later mean? Is it the next council?
Oh, the next council meeting is for Phase.
No. The next council, like 2019.
Potentially, it depends on where the department goes and how the funding goes forward.
That's what. I'm just following up on those questions because I'm now a little confused.
Sorry, right now, Phase 2 is not in the works at all.
Right. So my question is, will it be this council that's called upon to make that decision, or is it the council of 19 to 2022? Is that their decision?
Potentially. I was like, it depends on our department if they would like to proceed after a certain time frame. So right now we're not looking at Phase 2, but if, say, Phase 1, when if it gets finished by the end of this year and they want to proceed, then they would come back before 2019. But I can't predict that until we proceed throughout this year. So it potentially wouldn't be built in 2018. It'd be built in 2019, 20,
Yeah.
and so on.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand. It
But
can't be built in
it could come-
2018 from what you've just said. I'm just trying to understand, is the decision then a 2019 decision for a 2020 build? That's all I'm trying to understand.
I can't say that for sure.
Maybe someone else can.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, as clarification, if it does move forward, it would be next council, the next sitting council.
2019
to approve.
council.
That's correct.
Well, the 2018 December to, okay, thank you. That's all I was trying to understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, do we have the recommendation on the floor? I don't believe we do. Yes. Do we? Oh, okay. Thank you. We could indicate our intentions.
Councillor Verkutteren? All votes are in. Motion passes 14-1.
And we are on to item 14B.
Item 14B, motion by Councillor Fluker regarding event fees.
And actually, I will turn to the clerk at this point because we have a little information before we go further.
Thank you. Council, just in regards to this notice of motion of Councillor Fluker's, you may recall during the 2018 budget deliberations, we discussed the event fees. Therefore, this motion coming forward, you've already made a decision on the fees, so in order to bring it back to the floor, I'll require a 2/3 vote.
You bringing a motion for 2/3 vote, Councillor Fluker?
I guess my point, Madam Chair, is should the motion not be on the floor before we vote on whether we're going to go?
No, before any discussion occurs, we need to know if it's willing to come back onto the floor. So we just need to pass a 2/3 vote for that.
Very well.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Wesley, seconded by Councillor Oche. And if we could indicate our intentions.
All votes are in. Motion passes 15-0.
Thank you. Now I'll entertain your motion, Councillor Fluker.
Thank you very much. To Meredith back there in the booth, it is slightly changed. So